Hello there, it's me, Phil from Change Tips and Tools, and I'm here today with a requested video from Scientific Jaunt. So big shout out to Scientific Jaunt and thanks for this idea, which fundamentally asks how to create a violin chart in Excel. Now, you can get add-ins for Excel to do this, but I assume the request is how would you do it without any plugins? So with this in mind, I've decided to create this video to show you both a box plot and a violin chart in Excel. And I'm going to base this scenario on some fictional data for student scores in a test scenario. So with that said, I'm going to show you both, so a box chart versus a violin chart, and you decide which is better and let me know in the comments. So let's have a crack at this. So first of all, I need to create some student data. So let's call it group 1, like so. And I'm going to use the RANDARRAY function to create some random data. So I'm going to do equals RANDARRAY. So I want 200, let's go with 197 rows, and I'm going to do two low scores, and I'm going to do columns is going to be 1, so the bottom value is going to be 40, and then top value, which is the max score in the exam, which is 100, and I do want integers, I want whole numbers, so I'm going to close that bracket. It's generated some random numbers for me. I'm then going to do shift control down, do control copy, and then do shift control V just to paste the values only, so it gets rid of that random function. And then if I go down, hold down the control D, go down, press the down arrow, I'm going to the bottom, and I'm going to create 3 random numbers here. So remember we created random numbers between 40 and 100, so I'm going to put some outliers in here, 25, 10 and 5, like so. And then I'm going to turn this into a table by doing control T. Yes, it has headers. And then I'm going to give this table, on the table design, a meaningful name, so table student scores, like so, and hit return. And then with that table selected, I'm just going to do insert, and here on this, so I'm in Excel 365, so I'm going to choose this here, statistical charts, and I'm going to choose the box and whisker, so the box plot. So if I move this over here, let's make it a little bit bigger, select the data series, do control 1 on the fill, solid fill, let's make it a lighter blue, like so, so we can see it. Excellent. I'm going to get rid of, I don't need that there, I don't need that there, and I'm going to get rid of the chart title, and then I'm going to add some data labels to the right. I'm just going to select these, and I am going to take that and I'm going to do bold, and then over here on the formatting I choose the number, and I just want it to be a number and no decimal places, like so. Wonderful. So there's a box plot chart, or box and whisker chart. What this is fundamentally telling me is on the whiskers, this is the minimum value in the scores, so the lowest value, and then we've got the max value that can be scored, and then as far as the Q1 or the 25th percentile is 52, fall into the 25th percentile. You've got the median, that's the center point, and then the 75th or Q3 percentile, 75th percentile should I say, is 86, and then the average score there is 69. So that's what that box plot is telling me as far as those scores are concerned. So let me just rename this as charts, and then if I just take this chart and do control X to cut it, and then Control V to paste it there like so. So that's the box plot. So let's look at how we can do a violin chart, and I've looked around seeing the best ways to do this without the plugins. So let me create a new sheet, and I'm going to call this, rename it, my violin support data. So we're going to have to derive this based on our student data information. So the first thing I'm going to need is I'm going to need a left and a right to my violin chart, and that'll make sense in a minute. I'm going to need my data points that represent my score, so it's between 1 and 100. So let's do that. So let's do equals sequence there. It's going to be 100 rows. So those are my data points. I'm then going to need a smoothing factor, which will make sense. So let's do smoothing for the shape of my violin chart. So let's just put 2 there. I'm going to want to know a center point, so average. So that equals average, and it's going to be based on that student scores table. Open square bracket, choose group, close that square bracket, and then close the bracket. And that's my average score. And then I need a standard deviation, I believe. Deviation. And that's going to be equals standard. Let's choose this based on sample data. And again, it's going to be using the student scores table. Group 1. And there you go. So first of all, I've got to create, so what we're trying to understand with the violin chart is the density of data, of distribution. So the way that I'm going to do that is I'm going to combine a number of functions, the BYROW function, the norm distribution function, and the LAMBDA function, etc., to pull all this together. So if I do equals BYROW, because I want to do by each data point, my array is going to be the data point. So I'm going to do hash to select the whole spill range. I'm then going to choose the function is going to be lambda, open bracket. So my first parameter is going to, I've only got one parameter, which is going to be data point. So that's my parameter. And then the function is I'm going to sum each by row the norm distribution. So I'm going to do sum, open bracket, and then I'm going to do norm distribution like so. So the parameter x is going to be based on my parameter, so data, and there it is, it appears. My standard, my mean, section is going to be based on my student data, so their scores. Group 1, so, and then my standard deviation, which I'm going to use as a smoothing factor in my chart, is going to be based on this here, smoothing. So I'm going to do function 4 to make it absolute. And then as far as the cum is going to be based on probability mass function, which seems to work best. So I'm going to do false there. So I'm then going to close the bracket for the norm distribution calculation, close the bracket for the sum, close the bracket for the lambda, and then by row, and then I'm going to hit return. Right. And now I just need to mirror this for that violin chart, Yeah. So all I'm going to do is create a negative version of that. So I'm going to do equals minus, take that first cell and do hash for the spill range and hit return. And there we go. So I now should have all my data for my violin chart. I'm going to do it by combining scatter charts with bar charts. So I'll take this value here. So let's just do, let's insert a scatter with smooth lines chart there. Let's move it to there. Then let's add some data. Select data. So the first one is going to be this one. Right, hit return. The X values are going to be these values. So I'm going to take the top one, shift control and down, and then hit enter. And then my Y values are going to be my data points. So then shift control and then up this time, and with the shift button still held down, just going to go down one and hit return and do OK, and do OK there for a second. So let's just have a look at this. I don't want the title, so I'm going to delete that, and I don't want this series here, so I'm going to select it and get rid of that, all the axes, and then I'm going to select this, and I'm going to right click and do format axes, and I want the minimum value to be 0, and our top value is 100, i.e. in line with the number of data points that we have created. So in this case we've created 100 rows. Okay, now this looks a bit sort of, so I need to smooth it out, and this is where this standard deviation, so just to increase that, so go to here and let's increase that to 3. Let's change it to 4, better. Let's go 6. Okay, let's go with that, 6. Right, I don't like these grid lines, so I'm going to get rid of the grid lines, and I'm going to untick the vertical. Let's hit that like so. And let's add the other side of this violin chart, which are going to be the negative numbers, which should be a mirror. So again, right click on it, do select data. I'm going to do add. So this is going to be the left hand side of it. Hit return. My X values are going to be here, so the negative ones. So do shift control down, hit enter, and then as far as the Y values, I'm just going to take this, shift control up, down, and then hit enter and click OK. So now we've got something that resembles the violin chart. So I'm just going to select this here, and over here on the fill I'm going to make it solid line, and I want it to be a dark blue. Let's increase the size to 2. Again, take this one and let's make that a solid line, and let's increase that to 2 as well, width, so it's thicker. Okay, I'm going to make this in the middle, do Control B just to make that bold as well in the middle. Okay, so far so good. So now we need to fill this area, and this is where we bring the bar chart in. So I'm going to do right click, select data. I'm going to add a series. I'm going to call this the right bar. As far as the value is concerned, I'm going to just select that. I'm going to change it in a minute, so I'm just going to hit return and do OK. And then I'm going to add the left bar, yeah. And again, I'm just going to select this one here. I'm going to change it in a minute and hit return and do OK. And do OK. Then all I'm going to do here is on one of these, right click on it and say change series chart type. And what I'm going to do is on the right bar, I'm going to select stacked, and on the left bar I'm going to select stacked bar chart type and do OK. Right, now if I right click on here and do select data, so let's edit the right bar. I'm going to edit it, and the data values are going to be these values here. So I'm going to do shift control down and hit return and click OK. Let's take the left bar, do edit. Series values are going to be shift control the negative side to the left, and just make sure I've got those selected and do return and do OK. Right, so now getting closer. So with the bar chart selected, I'm going to say the gap width, I'm going to take that down to 0. And then on the fill, I'm going to make it a solid fill, and let's take this one here and make it a light blue. And let's take this one here and do, again, light blue. Click off it. Now what you can see here, and you can see that it doesn't quite cover. So what I'm going to do to reduce that stepping here is on here on the data series, I'm just going to do minus 0.5, hit return, and there you go, it now fills it. Let's get rid of this axis up here and select it and just delete. So now what we want is the center point and the standard deviation. So I'm going to select data, and I'm going to add another series. I'm going to call it average. The X value is going to be 0, and then we're going to call it the average like so, and hit return and do OK. Do OK again, and again I'm going to do change series type, and just make sure average is a standard scatter chart like so. And there we have our center point. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that, go to marker, expand on the marker options. I'm going to do built-in. I'm going to make that diamond and make it a little bit bigger. Let's change the color to be a dark blue, and the solid line is going to be a dark blue as well. Wonderful. Okay, now with that selected, I'm just going to add some error bars, more options. On the error bar options, I want the Y, and I want it to be custom. So it's the vertical error bar here, specific value. So the positive value is going to be standard deviation, and then negative value is going to be the standard deviation also. Return, do OK. I'm then going to change that line to be a little bit thicker. So let's make it, yeah, like so. Go back to there. That's fine. That's fine. Get rid of this one here. Delete. There we have a violin chart, I believe. So if I take that to Control X to cut it, let's go to our charts. Let's put it there. Control V. And again, just make that a little bit smaller. Hold down the Alt key just to snap it. And there you go. So there's a box plot, and there's a violin chart. Let me know your thoughts. Which one do you think's better? I mean, if I change the data, so let's do an experiment here. So again, let's create some random data in here. So I'm going to do equals rand array. Let's do 70 rows. No, let's do 100 rows. Let's do comma 1. And let's make it between 50 and 100. Make them whole. Close that bracket. And again, I'm just going to take these and do Shift Control down. Do Control copy. And over here, let's do it there. Do Shift Control V to copy those values. And let's see what it's done to the charts. Boom. So there you go. So here we can see, as far as our percentiles, where they fit. So here within the 25th percentile, within the 75th, this is the center point, and this is the average, and then we've got the mean value and the max value, and we've got some outliers now being plotted also within the box plot and whiskers chart. Over here on the violin chart, we can see the distribution of the score, so we can see as far as exam scores, this is looking good. You know, the majority of it is in the high numbers. We've got the midpoint, and then we've got some outliers down here at the bottom here. This is our average score and our standard deviation. And there you go. Box plot, violin chart. Which one do you think's best? Let me know in the comments. I hope you found this video helpful and informative. If so, please remember to hit that like, subscribe, and smash that notifications button for future content. And please take care, and I wish you a wonderful day wherever you are in the world, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video from Change, Tips and Tools. Bye bye now.